And I'm Mira Rubin here with you on Enlightened World Network. And today's topic is facets, the many facets of our beingness that makes us these wonderfully sparkling gems that we are. So it should be an interesting conversation. We get to be seeing our many shining faces. And before we get started, let's take a minute or two to get present. Let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding your lungs, flowing into your bloodstream, nourishing all your cells, all your organs, bringing vital life energy to your body and being. And as you exhale, exhale any tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. This time, imagine brilliant, bright light, lighting you up from the inside out, illuminating, electrifying, energizing all your cells and your molecules, all your electrons, and creating this brilliant beam of light from your heart out into the world. And as you exhale, exhale any remaining tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's just gently press our palms together and very softly rub your fingers against your palms to feel the deliciousness of that sensation and the tickling and the tingling, and allow that sensation to bring you present right here, right now, into these remarkable physical forms that enable us to experience life. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good morning, Rosalind. So good to have you here with us this morning. And welcome to everybody else who's joining us. Rosalind, thanks so much for chiming in. So I know that people can see this and I can see your comments. That's awesome. And so today's topic is facets. And, you know, we talk about how someone might have a many-faceted, she's a multifaceted person, multifaceted personality. And I love that analogy because it's an analogy that goes with gems. And it is when we talk about people and when we talk about ourselves in that way, there's an acknowledgement of our preciousness and our gem-like qualities, the rarity and the specialness. And so I thought that would be a great topic for today. And, you know, I think about, you know, growing up, all my life, really, I've had very diversified interests. And it was interesting because I also had very diversified friends now that I'm thinking about it. But so connecting all these interests, the thing that connected them was me, you know, so it's very interesting to look at these different facets of ourselves that other people might, excuse me. I guess I'm clearing stuff, you know, these mornings together with you are always times of clearing for me. Anyway, so like a diversity of interests, lots and lots and lots of interests. And in our culture, historically, that kind of curiosity or diversity of interests was met with comments like jack of all trades, master of none, as a sort of derogatory slur. And I think it's very interesting to recognize that we can be engaged in many different interests, many different things, and achieve a level of mastery in a number of them, and have all different arenas for our expression. And there's something so rich about that to me. Like I love doing creative things. I love fiber arts and weaving, and I've I have dabbled in spinning and beadwork. I love to do, and knitting and all of that. And I've played with, I am exploring painting with encaustic, and I do things with software. I've been an educator. I have the sustainability podcast. I'm interested in all kinds of things around that. And I'm saying these things not to make myself special in any way, but to say that we all have these special things about ourselves, these special interests that we pursue, and that make us a multifaceted person, and we might say a well-rounded person, but I tend to think of them as faces, because it's not necessarily a continuum. We're the glue that holds it all together, and I have no doubt that you who are joining us are also a very multifaceted person with all kinds of different interests and curiosities. And I wonder how it is for you navigating the world with so many, with interests that, oh my gosh. And I slept last night. I apologize. With interests, like, do you find community through your interests? I'm wondering, do you have people that you share your I'm going to call them hobbies, but I think by calling them hobby, calling something a hobby in a way is not necessarily giving that thing its due. Maybe because so many of us express our passions through what we call our hobbies, right? I've met a number of people who have such amazingly broad-ranging interests and skills. I met someone who's a really talented carpenter and woodworker and musician and artist and kind of engineer, just really, really, really interesting collections of talents and interests. And I think that we are at a time in the evolution of humanity where the diversity of interests is more and more valued, more and more revered, where knowing even just a little bit about a lot of things gives us more capability to navigate our contemporary world, because we're required in so many ways to be our own experts in things. For instance, even our own health, right? We are kind of charged with researching our own health, the way that the healthcare system, at least in the US, has evolved. We're needing to know what's going on with our bodies enough, at least to notice when there are changes, that oftentimes the medical interventions or even regular doctor's appointments, for instance, are very perfunctory, superficial kinds of engagement, and we need to be alert and aware of how to take care of ourselves more, or to be alert to when there is a need for external support. I think that we end up needing to be informed about so much more than than people used to need to be informed about. And there's so much information about out there, right? There's so much, so many things to be interested in and to engage with and engage in. You know, I think one of the reasons that this is coming up is that I have a lot of these interests, and I also have X amount of time to be pursuing these different interests. And sometimes there's a frustration around the fact that, you know, how to navigate all these different things. And because there's always more. And I think that's also something to think about with when we think about facets and gemstones, that the beauty of the gem is brought about by cleaving portions of it off to be able to make these crisp, beautiful facets that highlight the light. And I'm wondering, like, what are some of the things that you spend your time with that light you up? You know, to be bringing forth the brilliance of these gems. I think that we are. I think that it's worth our time to look at and commit to things that light us up, that things that inspire us, things that brighten our experience. Rosalind says book clubs are a way to hear about a book and maybe want to buy the book to read. Yeah, book clubs. And so I was part of a book club, and the thing about book clubs is, you know, you get exposed to all different ideas through reading. And also it's a social experience, you know, where you get to connect with other people and share an interest. That's a pretty awesome thing. Rosalind says, I have sourdough starter I've been keeping alive and often bake bread. My recipe makes 3 baguettes. That's very cool. So sourdough and other kinds of fermentation, that's an interest of mine too. And I go through phases, I notice, you know, where I put more attention on one thing and other things drop off. But you know, there are sourdough starters that have been around, or I think it's called starters, that have been around for hundreds of years. It's amazing. Good morning, Bernadette. So good to have you here with us. We're talking about the many faces that we are, the many facets that we are, and the gems that we are as humans, with our many, many different interests. And how all these different interests, you know, we're the connecting point for these interests that might seem really divergent from one another. So I find it fascinating. I love that you're doing sourdough, Rosalind. I am gluten-free, and I haven't played with trying to make gluten-free sourdough bread, or bread for that matter. I haven't really embarked on that area because I love bread and I would eat a lot of bread, and then there would be a lot more of me, I think. You know, I sort of limit my bread intake. But it's a treat when you can get a good gluten-free bread, that's for sure. So what are some of your interests and passions? So I love, Rosalind, that you brought up book clubs, because that blends social engagement and the engagement of ideas, sharing of ideas and stories and connections. That's an awesome thing. You know, people used to have sewing bees where they would get together and knit together. There was there was a spinning store or a fiber arts and yarn store um, that had people get together and spin together. So Bernadette says, do you have a favorite gluten-free snack? Well, as you're saying that, as you're asking that question, I remember I went through a phase where I was making kale chips, and oh my, they were really good. So I'd make this glop that would go on the kale chip, on the kale. It was a lot of work to make these things, to devein the kale and cut it or tear it into the right size pieces, and then made this mixture with, let me think what was in it. It was, you can find the recipe online. There was a red pepper and nutritional yeast and maybe some garlic powder and salt, and I'm not sure what else. And you blend it up in a blender, and then you massage it into the kale, and then you put it out on the trays in a dehydrator, and then wait. But boy, oh boy, oh boy, they were so good. They were so good. I'm wondering, do you have a favorite gluten-free snack? Bernadette says, I used to do crafts, but fingers don't appreciate the demand of behaving properly. LOL. Yes, I can understand that. My mom used to do a lot of crafts, and she has a tremor that doesn't allow for that at all anymore. And that's a shame, because that's such a rewarding thing to be able to do. Good morning, Lisa. Welcome. So you're on vacation today, right? Congratulations. And when do you head off to Vegas, Lisa? So Bernadette's saying, sounds delicious, the kale chips. They were really good. So if you look online, you can find, I think if you look for vegan kale chip recipe, or you would be able to find it. It is really, really good. Oh, leave on Monday. That's great, Lisa. Good for you. That sounds like you should have a wonderful time, I hope. So we're talking about facets and the different facets of our being and our personalities, and we could be talking about the facets of our personality too, actually, not just our interests. But I'm intrigued by the interests at this moment. But there, we also have different facets of our personalities, like the nurturing part of ourselves and the spiritual part, and they all blend together, and maybe this, parts of them are universal. But oh wow. So Bernadette says Parkinson's has a mind of its own, but doable for me for now. I'm so sorry to hear that you have Parkinson's, Bernadette. So wow, I imagine you've explored all kinds of alternative approaches to Parkinson's, because I know I've heard that light therapy can be really powerful for that. And I have like red light therapy. There's all kinds of, I don't know how far you've explored that stuff. I'm guessing that you probably have. But dietary things and balancing the gut, and there are all kinds of things that are supposed to be effective in supporting folks that have all the Parkinson's type symptomology. So anyway, not my area of specialty. This is a place where I've looked into quite a lot of things around health. but it's not my primary area of expertise. Anyway, so facets of our interests and our personalities. What other kinds of things do you okay, yay, Bernadette. I love your response. Bernadette says, don't be sorry, as it doesn't define me as a person. Been on many options, and stress is a big one to avoid. And household chemicals. Yes. I think you can, there was a website, it used to be Moms Across America, and it may have changed its name, but they talk about a lot of toxins and a lot of things that impact kids with the symptoms of autism, and how they've been able to turn that around for a lot of people, those symptoms. And organic food is a big deal, getting rid of glyphosate from your system. Glyphosate is a chemical that is part of Roundup. It's used extensively in our agriculture, and it kills the microbiome. So it kills all kinds of organisms that we need, and it does get into our bloodstream. There's a product called Ion, ION, that is supposedly quite good at clearing the glyphosate from our system, and that can really, really, really change life and our circumstances. So Rosalind says, I'm interested in pairing wine with food. Ooh, that sounds so fun. And Rosalind continues by saying, I've been making kimchi, not sure what wine would go with kimchi, maybe a Riesling. Oh, that's an interesting thought. Kimchi, I love. And I've played with making kimchi, but I had a Korean friend who tasted it and says, tastes like it's made by an American. For sure. It didn't have any fish sauce in it. And I'm sure it didn't taste anything like what they were familiar with. I'm wondering if the kimchi would overpower a Riesling. Interesting, because the chemistry of pairing wine with food is very interesting, how different foods will make the same wine taste different. Fascinating, Rosalind. Very cool. Bernadette says, I have a love for baked goods, and I always say to everyone I know, I bake well from the bakery down the street. It's a tradition for me. I love that. That's so funny. So kimchi is, it's a fermented food made from Napa cabbage and red peppers, hot pepper. There's Korean red pepper mixture that I love. I forget the name of it, goguchu or I forget what it's called, this dried red pepper recipe. And it often has ginger and garlic and onion, a green onion, and all of these flavors together, and then it's fermented. So fermented foods are really typically very good for the gut and for healing the gut, creating more microbes in the gut. And by shifting our microbial balance in the gut, we often will experience, believe it or not, cognitive shifts, differences in the way we think, and also the way we feel. So depression, for instance, when we clean up the gut, depression can lift. And so interesting, Bernadette, you're talking about it. Yes, it's very, very spicy, very, very hot, because it's hot, got the hot peppers in it, but it's spicy and sour, and it's wonderful. And the thing about baked goods, so I don't know. I love baked goods too, and I have been gluten-free for quite some time, so that limits a lot of the baked goods that I get to enjoy because I choose to. But that also could have a big impact on your health because the wheat in this country, especially, there's a lot of glyphosate in the wheat, or because even if they don't grow it with the wheat, oftentimes they spray, even if they don't grow the wheat using glyphosate, they do spray the wheat to dry it out. And so it's highly, highly toxic. And Dido, hi. That's awesome to have you here. Dido says, I've been working on my gut, not eating grains, and am feeling better, feeling calmer. Exactly, exactly. Because when we clear out gluten and glyphosate, glyphosate is one of the reasons that it's good to be eating organic. Uh, then then our bodies, the microbes in our bellies can do better work. And if we balance our gut with the right microbes, it really can make a difference. And a lot of people will buy what are they called? What like acidophilus, buy these supplements. The thing is that those supplements only have certain strains of microbes. And what I've read, which was really kind of counterintuitive, is that they can do more damage than good. Thank you. Boy, Dido, if I didn't have you here as a supplement to my brain, I don't know what I would do. Thank you so much. Probiotics. So people, we got into this big thing about probiotics, but the thing, most of the probiotic supplements that you buy have a high concentration of a limited number of probiotics. And what that can do is cause an overgrowth of that kind of probiotic in your gut, rather than this very diverse kind of biome. Let's see, Bernadette says, so whole grains would not be good, is sprouted better? Well, I know that there are sprouted grain breads and such. What we're talking about really is gluten, and I don't know that the sprouted breads or sprouted grains are, you'd have to do some research on that. Maybe Dido can share the story about grains. I know that they can be hard to digest, but also we want to be looking at this glyphosate thing and clearing that from the system, because it wreaks havoc on every part of our biology, and it has been linked with all kinds of diseases, and I believe it has been linked with Parkinson's. So Dido says, personally, I've done some tests and know that grains are no good for me. So you can, one of the big things that is also supposedly very damaging to our biology is something called lectins, lectins. And hello, Elaine. Good morning. Good morning. It's great to have you here with us. I saw you sent me something and I didn't get to look at it yet, but I appreciate that. Thank you. Actually, I did get to look at it now that I'm remembering, and thank you. There's a lot to learn about nutrition that is not, yes. So Bernadette says it absolutely has been linked. And I'm presuming that's glyphosate. So you might want to go check out ION supplement. And my understanding is that it claims to be able to clear the system of glyphosate. Now, that said, what I want to alert you to is that you might want to start with a fractional portion of the recommended, I don't know if dosage is the right word, but the recommended daily amount, because I took it, I just got incredible diarrhea because I wasn't smart enough to minimize the dose. So so Elaine says it was to assess the awakening ones going through the process now. I'm not sure what you mean by that, Elaine. I'm sorry. I'm guessing that you're doing speech to text and it maybe didn't come through the way you meant it to. And apparently, so Jennifer, I don't see any. Oh, Jennifer, I missed you saying hello. I'm so sorry. Well, good morning and happy birthday to you. Oh, thank you, Elaine. All right, I will check it out. I appreciate that. And happy birthday, Jennifer. So I wonder for folks whose birthdays are around the holidays, how that's got to be challenging. I don't, because if you're a celebrator of Christmas, having your birthday so close to Christmas had to be a challenge. Growing up, is it birthday? Is it Christmas? So today we're just saying happy birthday. Anyway, we've been talking about all kinds of things. It was a many-faceted conversation today, talking about facets. And that's how we are as beings, right? We have all these different interests, we have all these different challenges, and each of these faces that we are combined together to make us the extraordinary and unique, precious gems that we each are. And so I thank you for your diamond that you bring. And I'm so grateful to you for the time that we share, and the ideas and the camaraderie. And I just so appreciate you and love to spend this time with you. So I'm Mira Rubin. This is the Core Connection, and I go live here on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page each weekday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern. And I encourage you to check out all the other wonderful programming on Enlightened World Network. And Bernadette says, I have 7 family birthdays within the 2 weeks of Christmas and New Year's. Wow. Expecting a grandson in January. Can we switch the holidays? Oh my gosh, Bernadette. That's like a tidal wave. Wow. Anyway, guys, until next time, hopefully tomorrow, lots and lots of love and appreciation. And I look forward to seeing you.